Dubai Chocolate generated $22 million in sales in a single quarter. That's about $244,000 a day. And any of us could have seen it coming because the signs were there. In this video, I will show you what kind of emotional reaction can predict a future trend before the first big sales happen. Why 10 random videos from regular people can sometimes tell you more than a market research report. What trends have in common with a forest fire? Why the question, "Where can I buy this?" matters more than 1,000 likes. Why copycats can actually be a sign of a growth rather than the end of a trend. At what stage journalists usually notice a new trend, and why, if a product is selling out faster than Taylor Swift concert tickets, you are probably already too late to spot it early. And most importantly, I will show you how to use these signals to identify promising products before everyone else and make decisions before the market becomes overcrowded. Let's break it all down using Dubai Chocolate as an example. The first signal is emotional reaction. Most people think trend starts when people begin buying something. In reality, trends often start much earlier, when people begin asking, "What is it?" For anyone unfamiliar with the story of Dubai Chocolate, it originally started as a local product from a small dessert shop in Dubai. It was simply chocolate filled with a pistachio cream and crispy kanafe. On its own, the recipe didn't seem revolutionary. Then, people started posting unboxing and taste test videos. Viewers saw the signature crunch, the stretchy pistachio filling, the unique cross-section, and the strong ASMR effect. What's important is that people weren't just saying, "That looks delicious." They were asking something different. "Wow, what is that?" That's a very important distinction. When the product sparks curiosity, surprise, or immediate desire to learn more, that's often one of the earliest signs that you might be looking at a future trend. That's why the first signal isn't how useful the product is or how good it is. The first signal is the emotional reaction people have. How strongly does the product make someone stop scrolling, pay attention, and want to share it with other people? Signal number 2, repeated user-generated content. After the first viral videos about Dubai Chocolate, something even more important happened. It wasn't just one video that became popular. The product itself became popular. Dozens and then hundreds of TikTok videos started appearing from different people. Some were filming unboxing, others were doing taste tests, and some were simply recording their reaction or showing friends the unusual feeling inside. Here's the important part. Most of these videos weren't ads. They weren't created by major influencers or people under contract. They were made by regular people who bought the product themselves and wanted to share their experience. When one person talks about a product, it could be a coincidence. When dozens of independent people start creating similar content around the same product, that's a signal. It tells you the product is interesting, surprising, or emotionally engaging enough that people start doing the marketing for it. They attract attention and create additional demand without being paid to do it. Think of a forest fire. If you see a single plum of smoke, maybe someone is roasting marshmallows. If smoke starts appearing in 10 different places at once, you are no longer looking at a campfire. The same thing happens with trends. That's why the second signal is repeated user-generated content. If more and more regular people are talking about the same product without obvious advertising behind it, it's worth paying attention. Signal number 3, growing search interest. The next important signal is when people stop simply watching content and start actively looking for the product themselves. At first, people might search for something broad like desserts in Dubai or unique sweets. Over time, however, a specific search term began to emerge: Dubai Chocolate. At that point, the product stopped being just another random video in someone's feed and started becoming something people were actively looking for. People began asking questions like, "Where can I buy this? Why don't we have this in America? Who makes something similar? Where can I order this?" That's a different level of interest. There is a huge difference between, "Oh, that's cool," and "Okay, where is my credit card?" Once someone pulls out their credit card and opens Google to find the product, that's no longer curiosity. That's demand. That's why the third signal is growing search interest. If people are actively searching for a specific product instead of simply watching content about it, interest is starting to turn into real buying demand. Signal number 4, the market starts copying the product. This one is the strongest signals you can watch for. At a certain point, Dubai chocolate stopped being the product of one specific dessert shop. Alternative versions started appearing from other brands. Homemade recipes became popular. DIY videos showed up everywhere. Cafes and coffee shops began launching drinks and desserts inspired by the trend. Many people think copycats kill a trend. That's like saying that if there are new restaurants open next to your favorite restaurant, the business must be dying. Usually the opposite is true. When the market starts copying a product on a large scale, it often means demand has become so obvious that other businesses want a piece of it too. If more and more brands are creating their own versions of the same product, that's not necessarily a sign of decline. More often, it's a sign that the trend is still gaining momentum. That's why the fourth signal is the appearance of copycats and alternatives. When the market starts repeating something, it's because it has already noticed demand. Signal number 5, media coverage. At this stage, articles, lists, reviews, and news stories begin to appear. Media outlets start talking about the product as a new phenomenon and explaining why it's becoming popular. But there is one important thing to understand. The media rarely create trends. They usually show up after a trend has already started growing on its own. Think about a journalist. They're not sitting in a newsroom saying, "Let's make Dubai chocolate famous tomorrow." Most of the time, journalists show up after the internet has already made the decision. That's why, for someone trying to spot trends early, media coverage isn't the first signal. It's confirmation that trend is gaining momentum. Interestingly, this is the stage where most people first discover a trend, but by that point, many of the most important signals have already happened. That's why the fifth signal is media coverage. It's confirmation of a trend, not the beginning of one. Signal number 6, shortage and supply issues. This is the latest signal of all. At this stage, products start selling out, lines form, purchase limits appear, inventory shortage become common. For example, Dubai chocolate shows up at Costco and sells out within hours, leaving customers waiting for the next shipment. At that point, the trend has entered the mainstream market and demand insignificantly exceeded supply. For the average consumer, this is where the story begins. It's the first time they notice the product and decide to try it. But for someone looking for trends, this is already the end of the early stage. Most of the opportunity was visible much earlier, during the stages of emotional reaction, user-generated content, growing search interest, and the appearance of early copycats. If you are standing in line for a product that's selling out faster than Taylor Swift tickets, congratulations, you noticed the trend very late. That's why the sixth signal is product shortages. It's a sign that the trend has already become mainstream. So that's how a simple local dessert turned into a global trend that remains popular even today. Even now, major companies continue adapting the idea for their own products. Starbucks has launched drinks inspired by Dubai chocolate. Coffee shops are adding similar flavors to their menus, and new desserts, drinks, and variations of the original concept keep appearing. But Dubai chocolate isn't really the point. The real lesson is understand how trends are born and recognizing the signs that appear long before a product goes mainstream. Whether you are building your own products, running an e-commerce business, working in dropshipping, or simply trying to spot opportunities before everyone else, learning to recognize these signs matters. Because that's when you have the chance to figure out whether an idea is worth investing your time and money into, or whether you are just looking at a short-lived spike in attention. Let's quickly recap all 6 signals. First, emotional reaction. Second, repeated user-generated content. Third, growing search interest. Fourth, copycats and alternatives entering the market. Fifth, media coverage. And sixth, product shortages and mass demand. The earlier you spot these signals, the better your chances of getting ahead of the trend instead of chasing it later. If you're interested in learning how to identify trends early, make sure to subscribe. On this channel, we'll break down real-world examples, look for early signals, and learn how to recognize ideas that could become the next big thing. Now, I would love to hear from you. What products or trends are you noticing right now? Is there anything unusual that's starting to gain traction and already showing some of the early signals we talked about today? Answer in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.